Merong isang mathematician ang pangalan niya is Girolamo Cardano. Sabi niya, meron tayong mga solutions ng quadratic equations which are not real numbers. Sabi niya, there are solutions to some quadratic equations which are not real numbers. So, ano ba yun? For example, we have square root of -2, square root of -5, or even square root of -15. So, ano yung mapapansin nyo? Ang radicand natin ay negative numbers. And according to him, ang square root of negative numbers, ang tawag niya dito ay fictitious numbers. Yan, fictitious numbers. So, why fictitious numbers? Kasi, wala namang real numbers na equal sa -2. If for example, square root of -2, wala namang equal sa -2 pag sinimplify natin siya. Pero ang sabi naman ni René Descartes, which supports the statement of Cardano, ang tawag niya sa fictitious numbers, tinawag niya tong imaginary numbers. At itong imaginary numbers na to ay binigyan ni Euler ng sarili niyang expression, which is, for example, the square root of -1 is equivalent to letter I. So, bakit niya binigyan ng letter I yung -1? Kasi, if we are going to multiply -I times -I, we will be getting -1. So, paano nakuha yan? -1 times -1, square root of -1 times square root of -1 is -1. So, this will be our start of our lesson, which is imaginary numbers. So, ang imaginary number, meron siyang important property, which is I is equal to square root of -1 and I squared is equivalent to -1. So, bibigyan ko kayo ng example on how to write each numbers in terms of I. For example, we have a square root of -6. So, the first thing to do is to factor out the radicand. So, ang radicand natin is -6. So, ang factor niya is -1 times 6. And then, you're going to use the product rule for radicands. So, is-separate natin silang dalawa. So, this will become -1 times square root of 6. So, alam naman natin in the properties of imaginary numbers, square root of -1 is equivalent to I. So, wala namang square. Yung 6, meron siyang square root of 6 pero hindi siya perfect square. So, copy na lang natin yung 6 plus minus. So, this is your final answer. So, isa pa. So, what if we have square root of -20? So, same process din. We're going to factor out -20, simplify natin siya. So, this is equivalent to -1 times 20. So, product rule, -1 times square root of 20. Now, square root of -1 is equivalent to I. Pero ngayon, yung square root of 20, although this is not a perfect square, pero this is factorable. So, try natin siyang i-factor. Ano bang factors ng 20? We have 4 times 5. So, ngayon, para mas makita natin yung mas simple, apply natin product rule sa square root of 4 times 5. So, we have square root of I times square root of 4 times square root of 5. And then we have I times square root of 4 is 2 times square root of 5. And then simplify. I times 2 is 2i times square root of 5, so square root of 5. Positive, negative. So this is your final answer. So see you in the next examples.